There's no use trying to hide it. A lot of people find fishing really boring, and how can you not? You either mess with a bunch of synthetic fake crap, or play with worms, bugs, and whatever else, then throw it into a body of water and wait. That's what the Black Bass series has been. A lot of waiting. Well, let's make things a bit more exciting, something faster, bigger. This is Trophy Bass 2. So first off, why Trophy Bass 2? Why not Trophy Bass 1 or 3D or 4? Well, I don't have those games, and I didn't grow up with them. Now that that's out of the way, like the other games we've talked about so far, Trophy Bass 2 sees you out on the lake trying to catch the biggest bass you can. At least, that's what you'd be doing in the tournament mode or career mode. In the free fishing mode, and I'll be honest, this is the one that matters, you pick a lake, pick a spot, and fish. Everything happens fast and quick, and it doesn't take long to find a big fish at all. The best part is the sheer volume of fish that Trophy Bass has. Previous games we've talked about only had a handful, with Bassins having the most, but Trophy Bass has a huge variety of freshwater fish. To say that Trophy Bass 2 looks a bit dated is an understatement. This title came out around the time that everyone thought the next big step in gaming was going to be full motion video and using real photos and stills in place of sprites. Now in theory, this sort of works. Your angler looks alright, I suppose, alongside the environments, and the maps of the lakes are actually pretty stunning because of how much they attempted to get the scale and size right. If you try to fast transport, the game lets you know how long that will take, although that only matters in the tournament and career modes. Otherwise, the sprites that were made specifically for the game are a bit wonky. The fish, once you catch them, mostly make sense as to what they're supposed to be, and yeah, I get it. Looking at a fish from above water means they look very different than how they look below water, but still. I mentioned full motion video earlier, and it's one of the selling points of this game. Tips from the pros. Yeah, there's like 30 different videos that give you tips on whichever location you're currently fishing at. While it's not imperative like the Black Bass games, it's a nice little touch. It is a bit disappointing that when you manage to land a fish, you're presented with a basic static image of what you got. While that allows for there to be a large variety of fish, there isn't much of a difference between them gameplay-wise outside of their in-game underwater sprites. Bass are the only ones that have anything different, and even then, they're just these different paintings and images that are randomly chosen. It's neat, but just kind of a letdown when you land a 60-pound catfish. Excitement may not be something you associate fishing with, but Trophy Bass 2 attempts to make it so with its music. There's not a ton of it outside of the menus, but it's got some of the best fight music in any fishing game. Yeah, buddy. Trophy Bass 2 is possibly one of the most customizable fishing games I've ever seen, at least when it comes to how you want the game to play, both difficulty-wise and the behavior of the fish. There's a variety of lakes to choose from, all modeled after real locations, and the ability to make the conditions anything you want just about. Anything from the best day of fishing ever to the most realistic. There's also a pretty large selection of lures, rods, and line, plus different casts and other odds and ends that most games wouldn't bother with. The only thing they skimped out on was your angler. While it's not really a big deal, the most you can do is, change the gender of your angler, and that's it. Again, no difference in the gameplay, but it might have been nice to see with everything else that's changeable. As much as I've been singing this game's praises, it's not perfect. There are some graphical glitches here and there, and the sheer volume of options might be overwhelming to some players, and frankly, the modes that aren't free fishing aren't that fun. They're entirely optional. Trophy Bass 2 isn't hiding any unlockables as far as I'm aware behind the career and tournament modes, but they're there. And they aren't any fun. It's kind of like City Trial and Kirby Air Ride in a way. There may be 3 different modes, but only one that matters. Trophy Bass 2 is a lot of fun. But since it's a Windows 95 game, I'm not sure I can fully recommend it to just anybody. If you have the know-how or an old PC lying around, then look into it. Most copies are usually dirt cheap on Amazon, and it's one of the best fishing games on PC. On PC, though. What about consoles? What would I say is the greatest fishing game on a console? Forget that. The best fishing game ever. Well, It's only fitting that the greatest fishing game ever made is on the greatest console of all time. In 2 weeks, we wrap up this series on fishing games.